Good morning, traders. Today is Friday, March 11th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. All right. Well, first and foremost, the thing I want to talk about today is how tricky the market has been for me over the last few days, pretty much all week this week. It's been really, really hard to trade this market intraday because it's just been moving in a very unusual way. And so kind of looking back at my performance over the week, what I've realized is until the market gets back into a stance where I can trade the way I used to, which is more like just getting into a position and giving the market some time to really go to a new location where I think it's going to go. For today and moving into next week, I'm going to switch my strategy to much more of like a scalping type of strategy where I'm getting into trades and I'm just taking profits very, very quickly. And then if the trade seems like it's still going to work out, just getting in again and trying to really, really limit waiting around for a trade to go where I think it's going to go. If the trade doesn't work out right away, take profits and move on and not stay. For me, a lot of my best trades usually come from being patient. Get in the trade, give it an hour or two, let it get all the way to where it's going, and then take profits. But I've just been getting eaten alive trying to do that the last week. So I'm changing my strategy starting today and into next week to much quicker scalper type of trades and not fall in love with anything and wait around. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. And then on top of that, I have no clue what the market's going to do. I have opened up the charts this morning with literally zero bias. I did roll over. I'm on the new contract now on the M. But basically, what are we looking at here? Just looking at the daily chart. Well, we're starting to get a channel to the upside. So that's bullish to see, right? We're balancing upward. And that's nice to see. It could always just be, a bear flag type of situation. But at the moment, we are channeling up, and that is bullish. But then at the exact same time, last night in the overnight, we rejected off that 20 simple moving average on the daily chart. We also rejected once again. How many times have we rejected off this trend line? We rejected off that trend line once again. So those are bearish signals. So we're also, if we zoom out to the profile, we're like right on a previous balance area low, right? Inside of a new balance, which is like a channel that's balancing upward. So literally the best I could do is flip a coin. As far as where this market is going to go, I genuinely have no idea. We've got weakness that we left behind yesterday below us that needs repair, but we've also got weakness above us, including a gap, which needs repair. So I'm going to be taking this market one tick at a time and kind of seeing how it plays out. As far as this morning and the market open is concerned, we are opening with a gap up. Overnight inventory is net long. So the first move that we would expect is a counter auction to the downside to try to fill the gap, to try to get to yesterday's high. And I will be going off of the new contract. I'll be going off the M's numbers today. So that is where I'm looking for a gap fill. If we find support at yesterday's high, that is bullish for continuation to the upside. Or if we find support anywhere between where we open and yesterday's high, that is also very bullish for continuation to the upside. But if we start to trade down into yesterday's range, I would target a repair of that weak M period low and then monitor for continuation from there because there are a bunch of weak references we left behind. Right? So if we break yesterday's high, we come down, we repair this at 42.35. And then we see, do we get down here? Are we able to repair this at 42.14? If so, can we get down here? And so on and so forth. Okay. So not expecting chop this morning with the gap. I'm expecting the market to pick a direction and start going. The first thing to look for is the counter auction to the downside. How far do they get? Do the buyers instantly step in? That is bullish. Or are there no buyers and we bring in shorts that are trying to fill the gap? That is the focus. I'm going to go ahead and delete this previous balance area low. I don't see it as reliable anymore. Normally, when you re-enter a previous balance, you expect to trade to the opposite end. So once again, looking at it on the daily, if you re-enter the balance area, you would expect to rotate to the opposite end, but then you've got this bigger downtrend happening. So I don't trust the opposite end trade right now. Like I said, got to take it one tick at a time. All right, so we are open. You can see the green arrow shows you the gap. So the first target is filling that gap to the downside. And can we do it? The target to the gap fill would be 42.5850. One play for a gap fill that you can do when the market pushes higher right away like this, when it comes back down and passes through the opening price, don't do it right this second while it's bouncing on it, but once it clearly pushes up, when it comes back down and passes through that opening price, you can go short there and just put your stop above the high that it created. But then on a day like today, as soon as it started to go lower, I would move my stop below break even if I did take that trade. Chris Yee, good morning to you. Diego, good to see you. Cyrus is here. Boss man in the house. Dean is with us. Rocket, oh, that's the other thing I forgot to mention. Yeah, that death cross is impending doom. Right there. When the 20, when the 50 crosses the 200 right there. It hasn't happened yet. These are just showing you what it's projecting it'll go. This is the actual moving average. So we haven't quite gotten there yet. But if we do fail on this line and get lower, you'll definitely get that death cross. Which just increases the odds of a further bearish market. Nunez, good morning to you. All right, so we're about to pass back through that opening price. Attempting to fill the gap. Where will we find the buyers? Phoenix, howdy to you. Greg, scalping. This should be fun. Not quite scalping, but just, like I said, normally, like a trade like that where I'm shorting the POC targeting the gap, I would literally just put in my short, put in my stop, put in my take profit, and just give it time and chill. But now it's like if I get in that short, as soon as it gets below there, I'm going to move my stop, a tick below break even. I'm not going to trust that it's going to fill the gap as much as I used to because I just don't have the same confidence in my reads. $76 people hanging out, 22 like what they see. If you're enjoying this gap, give me that thumbs up. Let's get some likes going. Like it up. Good morning, Philip. Rocket rollover makes reading very difficult. Yeah, it is a little bit weirder, especially on the 1 or 2 days around the rollover. Particularly for volume, it can be tricky. But I have a feeling this has more to do with inflation and war and those types of things. Good morning, Knob. David Glass in the house. Good to see you. Boss man, I was working on charting my spike area like you do. I don't know if I've done it correctly, but the NQ is above the spike, which means bullish. I wait for the retest of that area. Yeah, the spike didn't count yesterday in the ES because we closed below it. But let me take a look at the NQ. Yeah, okay, so I don't consider that a spike in the NQ. It has to get above the previous high within the last hour of the day. So I don't actually see that as a spike. But what is bullish is the gap, right? The gap is bullish. But unfortunately, you can't just go long. As soon as you see a gap, you must wait for support. And you look for that at yesterday's high. So on the Q, you're looking at 13, 635-ish. Well, the NQ is filling its gap, but the ES is not. It is absorbing that overnight activity, but the price isn't really going. Oh, there we go. So now we're looking for this node right here to act as resistance. If they're able to push back up through there, likely they found support. But not with 3 contracts at the low. Definitely not yet. Okay, so if you did get into that short, I would now move your stop below break even or below entry to protect you from losses if we do find support. Still targeting the gap fill. Jose, good morning to you. Philip, welcome to the Scalper Dark Side. You're one of us now. Slim Jim, good morning to you. Hustler Forever, welcome. Good to have you. Are you still going to be hustling when you're like 90? Are you sure forever? Design Knob, we got some numbers coming out at 10 a.m. and Biden speaking at 10:15. Well, that means Biden speaking at 11:15. Rev, good morning to you. Ronald Har. Laser Eye, good morning. John, good to see you. Jay Trader, welcome. CCT in the house. SEC shot down a spot Bitcoin ETF? Well, that's too bad. That's what we really need. Okay, looks like the NQ filled the gap and found support there. ES is also finding support inside the gap. That's bullish. All right, so we got a gap and go holding at the moment. We got the ticks finding support above the 0 line. Both bullish signals. Next is passing back through that opening price to the upside and then breaking through this resistance, which if we can do should get us a pop higher. All right, it appears that support at yesterday's high for the NQ is not holding. So we're probably going to need to pull back down towards 13,586, looking for support there. And the ES might need to pull back down towards 4266, where they found support before, looking for it again. Remember that a gap and go is about momentum. It's about excitement. It's about traders feeling like they got to get long or they're going to miss their chance, and that market is going to go higher. Is that how you're feeling right now? Are you feeling desperate to get into a long trade or you'll miss your chance? If not, they probably need to pull back down, looking for buyers a little lower. Scooball, you told it a little too fast. It holds on the NQ. No, I was early, bro. I'm always freaking early, but that was not good support right there. So I do think they need to test that overnight POC. See if there's some buyers waiting there. And I think the ES needs to test 4266. Russia's attacking Belarus. Well, that's not smart. They're already getting their asses handed to them in Ukraine. Of course, that's from like the Ukrainian military, so we don't know if it's true. That's one thing that's so interesting about this, is like all these like very serious reporters bring it. All right, well, we're not getting support at 66. We're going to need to fill that gap. Looking for buyers at yesterday's high. Yeah, all these reporters reminding us that like in times of war, you can't trust information because they put out misinformation to try to mess with the other side, to cause their troops to lose enthusiasm. All right, so the NQ is testing that area around the overnight POC, looking for support here. Doesn't feel like we're getting it. Feels like those longs that went for the gap and go are starting to get squeezed. Getting a little liquidation. Charles, is that bearish? Why don't you put up the red banner? Isn't this bearish? No, no, no. Not at all. A liquidation will squeeze out weak hands and give stronger hands that had the patience to wait for the gap fill. It'll give them a chance to buy. So we could find support at yesterday's high. All right, well, for the ES, it's a little bit bullish that we're finding support, but this low is very weak. We only have 13 contracts, and we're one tick from yesterday's high. So I do think we still need to go down there and look for proper support. Okay, so now we are testing that support at yesterday's high. If this fails and we start to pull into yesterday's range, that is bearish. And it certainly looks like that's what's about to happen. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to call that bearish. Got to squeeze out all those weak hands that got in too early. So next target to the downside, we could get support around this node of volume on the ES at 42, 43.50. But we do have a weak reference that needs repair. So on any normal day, this would be my target to take profits. But I'm not going to fall in love with it today. If we find support here, I'm happy to take profits there. Harry P., if 13 is too small, what number is good for you? It's not an exact science, right? Like, for example, you can see on yesterday's high, we had 86 contracts. But generally, I like to see at least 100 on a high or a low. It would never, ever matter to me if that's the only thing. But, like, if you have bad taper and you have that, or like we had with it here, where it was one tick from yesterday's high or one TPO from yesterday's high. So like that in combination makes it stand out more to me. But yeah, I usually like to see at least 100 at a higher low of the day. And I like to see at least 200 inside the range. If there's, so like something like this, less than 200, I would expect that, this was overnight, but if this were regular trading hours, I would expect that to get backfilled a little bit. Which, oh boy, where did they come and bring in a bunch of volume and put in a bunch of time the next night? Right there. All right, next support around 43.42. If that cannot hold, the target is repairing the weak reference to the M period from the M period low yesterday, 42.35. All right, market's getting a little bit of resistance here, but it should backfill this one contract that only has 57. As I just mentioned, I'd like to see at least 200 in here. So that does need a bit of backfilling. But then once again, we got bad taper on the low. So momentum is still to the downside. Nor Auto Trader, good to see you. Welcome. Okay, when what should happens doesn't. The resistance was so strong they couldn't even backfill that low volume node, so that's a little more bearish. All right, we're looking for support in here around 41. If they can't get it, they got to head down and repair 42.35, the weak reference we left behind from yesterday. At that point, we can monitor for continuation to the downside. Hustler only got 3 points on my short. Original target was 61, I think you're saying. Or it was 6. I bailed. That's all right. Like I said, I'm doing the same thing today. I'm not staying in trades all the way to the maximum profit point. I'm just taking those profits and then looking to re-enter. Small, safe bets, one at a time. Boss man, in the brigade, do you go for execution along with risk management? I don't. This is like the number one question I get more than any other, and it's one of the hardest ones to explain. But no, I don't do like entries and exits. I don't say I'm going to get in here, I'm going to get out there, but I am constantly talking about support and resistance, which is what an entry should be, right? You should be buying at support or selling at resistance. And I'm constantly talking about what will happen if we get to that support and such happens, right? So like I said earlier this morning, if this support right here didn't hold, we would head down to this one. So I'm not going to say to you, put a buy order in here with a tight stop. I'm not going to say to you, put a stop sell order in here so that if it doesn't fill, so if it doesn't find support, you fill from here to here. Like, I'm not going to tell you how to enter the trade. You have to figure out what's right for you. And you have to do the thinking yourself. That's the only way you'll learn. But I will tell you where the support is going to be and what is likely to happen if it holds, what is likely to happen if it doesn't. And then the flip side of that coin is I always encourage people in the brigade to tell me their trade ideas and then let me give my feedback. So when the market was up here, you might have thought, should I buy this node right here? And I would have said, yes, buy that node with a very tight stop. Right? So it's like, I'll answer your questions so that you can understand the way I'm seeing it and then learn from what you saw in relation to what I'm seeing. But I don't spoon feed it because in my experience, nobody actually learns that way. And they always say to me, Charles, if you just tell me where you get in, I'll learn from you telling me where you're getting in. But you don't actually learn. The only way you learn is by actually with your own brain thinking to yourself, what is the market going to do at this level? And then letting me tell you if your thinking is right or wrong. That's a much more valuable way to learn. It's kind of like if you ask a carpenter to teach you how to build a table, you're not going to ask him to just show you how to build the table. You're going to ask him to let you build it and stand there with you and show you how to hammer and screw the nails and, put on the glue. You're going to do it yourself. That's how you're going to learn. Same thing with trading. All right, so that's the backfill of the low volume node. Would have liked to have seen a few more contracts. Like I said, I like 200, but we are in heavy resistance with very thin volume below. So momentum is still to the downside. But the buyers are waiting. They're getting ready. Alex, a carpenter, will demonstrate first, though. Yeah, but what I'm saying is you won't learn from him just showing you. You will only learn to build a table by building it yourself with your own hands. And of course, you want him standing there showing you what you're doing right and wrong as you're doing that. Can you imagine if that's how surgeons learned? Watch me do surgery once or twice and then you're up. Nope, that surgeon is standing right there with you for years and years, helping you perform that surgery and develop those skills. make no mistake, day trading like this is as complex as anything. It is working your brain to an extreme. And building complex skills takes time. Not that I'm comparing it to brain surgery or anything. It's definitely not that. Yeah, that's the phrase, see one, do one, teach one, but it's not literal. You don't literally watch one surgery and then do it once, and then the next day you're teaching it to somebody. That's just the expression, is like, first you watch somebody do it, then you learn to do it, then you teach somebody how to do it, and you get better and better with each phase of the process. But it doesn't literally mean one. So a great example would be this morning, I gave the gap fill trade, right? I said, once the market pushes up, makes a new high, you can short it on the pass through of the open, targeting the gap fill. And I said, normally I put my stop up here, but today I'll move it down very quick. I took that trade. I did that trade. I got stopped out for like a couple of ticks on the way back up. But now that I've told you, all of you shall forever make money off of gaps. Congratulations, you saw it once. Probably not going to be the case, right? And that trade would have worked out if I didn't move my stop, by the way. This is that original high. We only tested that once. So if I had gone short and stayed in it, which I normally would do, I would have had that sweet, sweet gap fill. Charles, is the brigade live stream? How long are your sessions usually? And do you guys meet overnight also? Just for the regular trading hours, just till the market closes at 4. And no, we don't do overnight. I sleep overnight. Not yet. If it's scheduled for 10:15, he'll probably be out at about 11. I know that sounds like a joke, but I'm dead serious. He never comes out on time. All right, so we're testing that support once again, trying to bring in some better taper down here. Like I said, if we don't have the buyers, the next target is repairing that weak M period low. Mike, just listening to his calm voice is worth all the money. Trading is just a bonus. Wasn't calm yesterday. I'm sure you guys noticed my anger yesterday. How does it work when I shut down things here? Basically, there's a website, my website, piratetraders.io. Once you sign up for a membership there's just like a button you can click that'll take you to the new live stream. Or like right as I close this one, I send out an email to all the subscribers, and there's a button on there as well they can click. And it's exactly the same as this. It's on YouTube. It's just you can only access it if you're a member. Skewball, the red node that is support now is the VWAP from 3 days 2. The VWAP from 3 days 2? I'm not really sure what that means. So you specifically take a range, like a couple of day range, and create a VWAP off of that? I've never heard of that. I mean, it makes sense. Oftentimes, technical signals all line up with each other. That's why I say you don't have to trade market profile. You can trade anything you want. You just need to become as good at reading whatever you trade as I am at reading this. But all the things point out the same levels. Fibs, VWAPs with divergence or deviation bands, moving averages, all that stuff. Trend lines, they always line up almost perfectly with one another. Adidas guy watched my Paul Tudor Jones video last night. He watched the original PBS documentary before, but my commentary really explained the minutes of Jones's psychology, the minutes of Jones's psychology. Yeah. Well, that's what was so fun to watch that documentary. So like I'm literally watching it and I'm like, oh my God, I know exactly what this guy is going through. He goes through the exact same emotions trading with hundreds of millions of dollars as I go through trading with thousands. All right, well, with the ticks slow grinding their way back above the zero line, we could be starting to get some good support here. I'd like to see us break the downtrend and get like a big green candle, get a big push to the upside. That would be a sign the selling might be over. Would expect some resistance now at yesterday's high, if not at the halfback, 42.62. Okay, the resistance is holding. Malcolm, no, I don't have a link for the original video the original doc, because they keep taking it down. The minute somebody posts it, they take it down. But if you just keep Googling for it, one day you'll find it. It'll be there. People keep uploading it. Aviv, can you explain your subscription? Do I need the course to get it, or just get the brigade membership? It's up to you. The course and the brigade membership are basically two different ways to learn, right? Like if you're brand new to market profile and you don't know what any of this is, if this looks like the matrix to you and you're like, I don't know what I'm looking at, the e-course is the best place to start, because that will teach you what everything is. So that then when you watch these live streams in the morning and when you watch the live streams on the brigade, you'll know what I'm talking about. Things will make sense to you. When I say we're likely to get resistance at halfback, you'll know what that means, why we would get resistance there, what the probabilities are, and so on and so forth. All right, so with printing the C period, we've created some single prints in the B period right to yesterday's high. So I expect that to slightly increase the odds that we'll push up there, but then find resistance at yesterday's high. So yeah, if you're brand new and you don't know anything about market profiles, start with the e-course, because then you'll get a lot more out of watching the live streams. And then as far as whether you want to join the brigade or not, I mean, this is what you get, right? I don't quite talk as much throughout the rest of the day as I do in the first hour, but you get me pointing out the things that I'm seeing throughout the day and answering any questions you have. So, you can kind of see if that feels right for you using this first hour as a judge. Speaking of which, going to go ahead and head on over to the private stream. So once again, guys, right now, momentum is to the downside. We haven't started one time framing lower, and value is higher. So we certainly could find support in here and then start to trade higher. But if we break 42.35, look for new sellers to pile on heading down towards 42.14 to repair that next week reference. Keep in mind where they found support in the overnight, right? And the fact that it feels like we're balancing as a channel too. That's the other thing to keep in mind. Is it feels like the market's trying to do a channel here. So the repair at 35 will be a very important area to see what happens. And with that, I bid you all farewell. Have a wonderful weekend. And I look forward to seeing you all here on Monday morning. Thanks a lot.